Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. All right, now that we've had a cool 24 hours to assess what's going on, what happened in the Madison school shooting, let's start making some conclusions here. Lieutenant Randy Sutton with thewoundedblue.org is kicking us off today. What do we know now that we didn't know about this time yesterday, Randy?
Well, we know quite a bit. We know that the shooter was a 15-year-old student at the school. We know that she had put social media posts out there that were very, very disturbing. I just watched a interview with the chief of police who divulged a lot more information that they have gathered. They're being a little tight-lipped about what these social media posts contained, but they did indicate that there were very disturbing images and posts that would indicate that this individual had a connection with the Columbine shooters. That's very common. This obsession with Columbine is very common with many of these school shootings. And so the fact that he had posted about this is very disturbing.
Yeah, so what's the deal with the copycat? Is it just because they're the ground zero for the school shooting cultural phenomenon?
Well, the Columbine shooting was one of the deadliest in history. It actually was a watershed moment for law enforcement in that law enforcement changed its tactics following that shooting to be much more rapid in their entry to the schools. So Columbine seems to be like the most observable school shooting that these individuals seem to obsess about. Now, we also know this, that apparently this teenager did not target these people specifically, that everybody in the school was a target, according to the chief of police. So it's indiscriminate shooting, and then so apparently about suicide as well. So all of these indications are very clear warning signs that were apparently ignored. He had media or social media, a whole dearth of social media, including pretty much all of the normal platforms.
How strange is it that this is a female shooter? It's overwhelmingly male, but we've had two now in the last couple of years, the Nashville one, this one, and what in the Joel Osteen church shooter, wasn't that also a female?
I believe you're right on that, but it's still unusual. I mean, you look at the number of shootings, astronomical. If you consider all of the shootings that have taken place, not have been indiscriminate. Sometimes the school shootings that take place, some are gang-related, some are very targeted. But the indiscriminate, this is the scary stuff here. The indiscriminate shooting where the entire school is targeted, that's unusual, and with a female shooter. So this is disturbing. The true motivations haven't been discussed yet, but they will be, I'm sure. They're looking right now for trying to ascertain whether the quote manifesto, unquote, that has been circulating out there on social media, whether or not that is in fact accurate, that it belongs to her, or did she one of the things that's being investigated is, did she tell anybody about this before? That's going to be a deep part of the investigation.
Yeah, these are all good questions. I hope we know pretty soon here. Thank you for your time, Randy Sutton. Your law enforcement expertise is very appreciated. Find some of his work at thewoundedblue.org. Thewoundedblue.org. See you, Randy.
Thank you.
All right, now we need to have this conversation. I need to talk to you. And a lot of the same questions I was asking Randy. Now that we know more about the shooting, let's go through some of the bullet points here. Well, I guess we don't have to hear about assault rifles being all scary and we got to ban them. And did she buy this gun from the gun show loophole? Did she get a private transaction in the parking lot of the gun show without a background check? No. Do we have any scary words for this type of gun? No, we don't, even though it's the type of gun that commits the majority of the murders in America. No scary genres for that. Huh. That's interesting, too. Well, is it being labeled an anti-Christian attack? What's the word for that? Are we talking about the toxic traits of her gender, the toxic feminine? No, we're not talking about that. We're not going to hear about this story much longer, are we? 800-288-9227. This just doesn't fit any of the narrative's bullet points. We're probably going to be the last ones talking about it today. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I would love to hear your theories. What's going on here? What was the motive, if there is one, other than someone just being crazy? We welcome all speculation, and you little private sleuths out there, I'd love to hear from you. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Thanks again to Steve, who spent part of his Friday, Saturday, and Sunday separating out all the chicken wings at the Richardson Bar and Grill. So when we go tonight and hang out, if you get the hot wings, all right wings. That's the special for the James Show meetup, Richardson Bar and Grill. Anytime after 7, I'll probably be there if you want to come hang out. If you have any more questions, you can either call or email me, james@wbap.com. All right, top story of the day. We've learned a little bit more about the shooter, and now that we know more, your thoughts, 800-288-9227. This is Craig in McKinney. You're on WBAP. What do you think, sir?
Hey, what's up, James? Thanks for taking my call. Yeah, so I think you're onto something, man, that this isn't going to be covered very much longer because they're covering up all sorts of school shootings. For example, there was just one in California 2 weeks ago where 2 kindergartners were shot. And the guy's reasoning behind it was he was anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian.
Yes.
And, why didn't we hear anything about that on the news? You know what I mean?
Well, look, there's the common trope where how come we hear about these mass school shootings, but a mass shooting that happens in Oak Cliff doesn't make national news? And, there's a decent explanation for that. The people that are getting rolled up in some drive-by are usually people that are already in the game. It's easy for people on the other side of town to avoid, so they don't see that as part of their world anyway. But this is so universal that, okay, I can understand why this would be appealing and compelling to any people, no matter what neighborhood you live in. But then you run into examples like you just brought up, Craig, and it's like, okay, so now the defining characteristic isn't just if it's a school shooting with innocent children in a generic neighborhood. Now you're right to be skeptical of that. And you're right that, like the Nashville shooter, we didn't see the manifesto.
Yeah.
We didn't see the man.
Yeah, I mean,
if Steven Crowder hadn't had one of his listeners leak some of it, we wouldn't know anything about the Nashville shooting. And the little bit we do know, we know why they're hiding the rest of it now.
Yep. If it doesn't meet their narrative, man.
Well, doesn't that stink? Doesn't their narrative suck? Right?
All right, brother. Thanks for taking my call, man.
I appreciate it. Yeah. And so, Craig thinks just like a lot of us do. And he's probably also thinking, too, hey, was that bought from the gun show? Was that bought from the gun show loophole that y'all are so concerned about? Did she use a bump stock? Did she use a bump? No, not a bump stock either. Well, we're told that if we curtail these freedoms, if we infringe on these gun rights, well, then we'll get safety. But we didn't get safety. Was it an AR-15? Was it a scary assault rifle? No, it wasn't one of those either. Oh, that's so weird. Well, was it one of these toxic masculine guys? No, it wasn't a dude. You can't blame guys. Can't blame, straight white men are the bane of everyone's existence. I get it. We can still be the bane of your existence, but this wasn't our fault. So what? We don't even have the word for anti-Christian. Christophobic? Jesusophobic? Jesusophobic? I don't know what the Latin cognate would be. But, there's probable, likely, possible anti-Christian angle here. That was one of the things that we learned about the Nashville shooter that they tried to hide from you. So here we go. We have more anti-Christian attacks than we have legit these race hoaxes that pop up, whether it's George Floyd or, we learned about Duke Lacrosse, we had that confirmed to being a hoax. Everything from Tawana Brawley to Hands Up, Don't Shoot. All that's lies, but gets far more attention than the anti-Christian shootings because, the other overlap that you just heard me talk about with the first guest, Randy Sutton, is that for your entire life, there hasn't been female mass shooters. There's the monster case where there's a serial killer there, and there was Bonnie Parker. No relation, running around with Clyde Barrow up here shooting people, but on their own, all these mass shootings that you've seen, whether it's Columbine or whether it's San Bernardino or whether it's so many of these other situations, all dudes until what, the last couple of years. So then we have a trans deluded girl that shot up at her Christian school with clear anti-Christian motivations. We had the trans trans woman or trans dude, woman that is trans, shot up the Joel Osteen church earlier this year. Free Palestine etched into her gun. And now we have this one. That's 3 mass shootings, anti-Christian targeted mass shootings by females. And look, to be fair, we hadn't really had that much anti-Christian violence in your lifetime either. But this is sort of a new event. I mean, we've had people that hadn't been big fans, but like this, no, it hasn't been like this. There hasn't been sort of an animosity here between the trans community and the Christian community. And look, the point remains to be seen whether or not how woke this girl was. But when you look at what's being leaked online, and I hate to report on this because I really can find no evidence that she's trans. And for the part of the social media posts that she's made that have been leaked, it looks like she's not a Team Red person. One of them does have her using the N-word, and so you see people seizing on that and saying, "Oh, look, it's another MAGA." How can you tell? She uses the N-word. When does a MAGA person use the N-word? You know, the racial slurs and Jim Crow, segregation, slavery, that's all on your side of the aisle, pal. That's not anything indicative or much less endemic to Team Red. So get out of here. But there's no rush. There's no rush to find a motive on this one because it's not going to be good. And look, another thing we can point out now that it's been 24 hours, and I hated saying it yesterday, but I'm glad I did because we turned out to be right again with Ann Coulter's law. Ann Coulter's law says after a mass shooting or terror attack or some event like this, the longer they wait to tell you the demographics of the perpetrator, the less likely it is to be a white male. Or she might have said white Christian male. But the point still stands. They were pretending like they didn't know yesterday. We don't know the race of the person involved or the gender of the person involved. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you knew. You just didn't want to rush to get it out there. Doesn't fit the narrative. You want everyone to get their little emotional the bias set in before they have to start overcoming the truth. And what a bullet we dodged with Kamala Harris. She spoke about it yesterday. Of course, she wants to end gun violence. But someone sent this to me, and they're like, doesn't she sound drunk? And if you watch the whole speech, at the beginning, she kind of does. But when she talks about the shooting, she sort of starts to sound sober again. So let me just play the drunk part, and then we'll get to the actual meat. But you can answer this question. Does she sound drunk here? Is Kamala Harris drunk?
I know, and I feel so strongly. The future of our country is bright. It is bright because of all of you. And I want to thank Lauren for her kind words and her commitment to your community, Lauren, and for the example you are setting. It is so good to see all of you. So, well, you know what?
Yeah. Does she sound drunk there? I mean, kind of. Look, she's vice president. This was like 6:30 in the evening. She doesn't have any tie-breaking votes to cast in the Senate, so she really doesn't have anything to do. Let her have a couple beers, man. But here's the part where she talks about the shooting.
Let me start with just what has happened actually yesterday before I begin my other comments about the horrific shooting yesterday in Madison, Wisconsin. Of course, it's another school shooting.
Thank you.
Another community being torn about and torn apart by gun violence. And, of course, our nation mourns for those who were killed, and we pray for the recovery of those who were injured and for the entire community. But, look, as we hold our loved ones close this holiday season, we as a nation must renew our commitment to end the horror of gun violence, both mass shootings and everyday gun violence that touches so many communities in our nation. We must end it, and we must be committed to have the courage to know that solutions are in hand, but we need elected leaders to have the courage to step up and do the right thing.
But she didn't say anything. That could be the answer to any problem on earth. Hey, James, what should we do about healthcare? Well, we should know that the solutions are at hand, and we should do everything in our power to end it and implement those solutions. And then everyone can just go, woo! That's the solution. James, what should we do about the price of groceries going up? Well, we should realize that there's solutions in hand, and we should have the courage to implement those solutions. Woo! It's fixed. He has the answer for everything. James, what do we do about slow internet speeds? Same thing. 800-288-9227. Boy, we really dodged a bullet. Could you imagine having to listen to that for the next 4 years? Coming up next, we're going to talk to my lawyer friend, Jeremy Rosenthal. I got all kinds of legal questions about the Luigi, the CEO assassin, about what's going on with the shooting yesterday, and is it legal to shoot a drone out of the sky? We got all kinds of important stuff coming up, so stick with us on The James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. If you have any comments for the big show, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. If you have a question for my next guest, my lawyer buddy, Jeremy Rosenthal, you can either call in and maybe just get Garrett to type it on the screen, or you could just plop a message on Facebook or YouTube or whatever you're watching this on online. It pops up on the screen and I can ask him. Jeremy, welcome back to the big show. I need to talk to my lawyer friend. So you got a minute?
I got a minute, man. Yeah, I love it. Let's let listeners kind of fire away. I'm ready, man. This is getting my adrenaline going. Let's do it.
All right. I know you lawyers get all excited when we talk about the insanity plea. Some people have proposed that for both the United Healthcare CEO killer and now the school shooter from yesterday. But I think people don't understand what a long shot that is and how rare it works. What are the rules around that?
Great question. And yeah, the insanity plea is very controversial. So insanity, what it means from a legal standpoint is that a person didn't know what they were doing was wrong. Let me give you a clear-cut example, okay? The CIA has put a chip in your head, and they're communicating the invasion of the Wicker people from another planet, and Walmart announces in your mind that everything is free because we've got to stock up for the invasion. You go in and out of Walmart 5 times, get all the groceries you need, don't pay for it, get arrested for theft, okay? You don't understand what you were doing is wrong, or in your mind it was okay. That's the insanity defense. And it can apply to any crime that it requires intent, including murder. So the standard is that the defense has to prove by a preponderance of the evidence, halfway, that they didn't know what was going on, that they didn't know what they were doing was wrong. And yes, to your point, it's a real mountain to climb.
So I think the best way that people understand it who haven't been legally steeped like you is use a real world example. And I think the best one of that would be John Hinckley shot President Reagan. He's actually out. He's not in prison. You can shoot the president and still be out of jail or out of prison or whatever. I think he lives like in Highland Park or something.
I know he lived in Lubbock. That was I'm a Red Raider, and that was like one of the hey, let me tell you about this town. But yeah, that's a perfect example. And I mean, look, and what happens when you are found not guilty by reason of insanity is, in most instances, you're going to go to a state hospital instead of a prison, which my guess in New York State is not going to be a lot better. I don't think it's a lot better anywhere. But you are, though, if you are not guilty by reason of insanity, you do have a chance of at some point getting out, depending on your status. Again, and John Hinckley Jr. has taken. I mean, that guy takes a lot of heat. Obviously, he shot Ronald Reagan, as he should. But that's been that's a good case in point.
Right. I hear the big difference between the state hospital and the regular prison is the drugs are better. All right, let's talk about Luigi shooting the United Health CEO. Why are they talking about extradition? I figured this was a done deal. Is there anything that can get tripped up here? What's going on with that?
Not much. Extradition between one state and another state is about getting the paperwork right. And you can ask for or demand, if you will, if you're not going to voluntarily get extradited, you can demand what's called a governor's warrant be produced. And it's like the Secretary of State from New York State is getting some paperwork over to the Secretary of State in Pennsylvania. If, for instance, if you have a case, like if I have a case where I don't think the state of wherever, fill in the blank, South Carolina really cares about here because of whatever petty that they've done. Maybe they screw it up. Maybe they don't get it right. Maybe they botch it and your person goes free. They're going to get this one right. I'm guessing he's on their radar. When you're extraditing people from one person to another, from one country to another country, then you have international treaties. Then it gets a lot stickier.
Right as I say that, Alvin Bragg comes up to a podium. It turns out Mangione will no longer fight extradition to New York and has been officially indicted by Alvin Bragg in Manhattan. So, breaking news on that. Should have asked that question 30 seconds later. It wouldn't have happened. All right.
Well, it's okay. Now we know.
Let's look at the shooting from yesterday. Depending on what's in this woman's manifesto or this young lady's manifesto, there might be an insanity defense here. I mean, I can't imagine there's a rationale for someone to go do a shooting, but also it's a girl, so that there's an extra weird facet there because girls don't get treated the same when it comes to these shootings. The Duke lacrosse lady's about to get out of prison. She only had to do 18 years for killing her ex-boyfriend. So a lot of complicated variables in yesterday's shooting.
Yeah, there really are. And what I'm kind of curious to do now, I don't know if the shooter yesterday survived or not.
She did not.
She did not. Okay. I hadn't kept up. What I did hear, what was interesting to me in the first place, my mind went, because we had the shooting in Georgia. And we had the Michigan shooting parents, the Crumbleys, who both have been prosecuted this year. The first thing when I heard on the news was the parents in Madison, Wisconsin are cooperating with police. My question is, are the police looking at mom and dad? And is that going to be kind of the motion of the ocean here? And to see how does a 15-year-old get a firearm? And to see, if were there red flags here that got missed? And if so, how obvious were there? And because I do think that prosecutors now, I think that that's going to be their first instinct. And look, the 15-year-old parents, they lost their daughter too. Your heart breaks for everybody in that community. But it'll be interesting to see if that's something that gets looked at here.
Yeah, if she had survived, you think maybe an insanity defense would work in a case like this, or is there just no precedent for it? Because I'm also interested, if she had survived, how different she would be treated because she's female and 15.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I don't know that. Yeah, I don't know that she would be treated differently or not. I mean, these from a legal standpoint, had she survived, she would have, I'm assuming Wisconsin's insanity law, the insanity rule is really the same almost in every state. But in every state, it's codified probably a little bit differently. It's called the McNaughton rule. There you go. My law school professor would be proud of me. I remember the McNaughton rule, which is that they didn't appreciate essentially that what they were doing was wrong. So you would have the same standard for her. But in this instance, like with the manifesto, from what I've read about her, she's getting radicalized online. She's getting into neo-Nazi stuff. She's on web pages where they're glamorizing mass shooters. So it's with the same thing with Mangione too, right? It's going to be the premeditation that the prosecutors are really going to sharpen their teeth on, and they're really going to go and look at that stuff hard because it's the premeditation, right? Which sort of says, yeah, no, you weren't afraid of the Wicker people. You were, this was your thing, and you wanted to hurt people. So,
where did this Wicker people come from? That doesn't sound very hypothetical. If you keep using it, was that one in one of your textbooks or something?
Everything I learned under Texas Rule of Evidence 503B2 is subject to the attorney-client privilege. There you go. We'll just leave it with that. Maybe there's the Wicker people. Maybe there's not.
I see. All right, Jeremy Rosenthal, TexasDefenseFirm.com. Appreciate your expertise, sir.
All right. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you very much. Oh, hey, are you coming to hang out tonight, 7:00, Richardson Bar and Grill?
Man, you know what? I would love to. I'm going to go ahead and say that. You're breaking up. My wife, she's calling in. She's cutting in. I can't hear you, James.
Oh, no, that's so terrible. See, you think just because I'm the guy on the radio, I have friends. I have like 4 friends. Garrett doesn't count either. All right, coming up next. Remember Taylor Lorenz? She was on MSNBC, and I think she writes for Washington Post or something like that. She told Piers Morgan that the murder of the United Healthcare CEO gave her joy. And she tried to backtrack right after that, but you've got to hear this audio coming up next. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Jamal over here on YouTube says, how does one even go about shooting down plasma? What is he talking about? Oh, yeah, the title of today's show is what's the best way to shoot down a drone? Oh, so Jamal doesn't think it's drones up there. He thinks it's plasma. That's interesting. You ever heard of those plasma balls or lightning balls? I'd had one guy tell him a story about those, and I've never seen one with my own eyes. But he says, "You want to do story time real quick? We'll go back way back when your host was waiting tables in college. There's another guy on the wait staff who had just gotten out of the Navy, and he did the sonar in a nuclear submarine, just like you think, with the headphones on. Bing, bing. He just listened to bings all day. He said that in the nuclear sub, there's actually 2 nuclear reactors, and it switches back and forth between them. Like once or twice a day or something. But in that just fraction of a millisecond where the connection is flipping back and forth, enough raw energy escapes that it makes a plasma ball. He called it a lightning ball. And he's like, if you're in the room when that happens, you just sit still, because if you run, it'll somehow be attracted to you and shock the crap out of you. But usually it just like floats off and dissipates when it hits metal. I have no idea how true that is or not, but you know what, Jamal? Until someone admits what's going on, that's not a bad guess. Points for not just buying into everyone else's explanation of drones, even though I do think it is drones and not a plasma ball. Okay, here's a disturbing little piece of audio. You know Piers Morgan. I know you've heard him plenty. Taylor Lorenz. She is someone who shows up on MSNBC. She doxed and exposed the Libs of TikTok account holder. And I think it's Washington Post. Anyway, she just wrote a book. And the last she was on the show was like last month. We were having a good laugh at her because she's going on her book tour wearing a mask. And I mean, like in 2024, she is going to like the Books A Million in like Rochester, New York, upstate, and wearing a mask. Anyway, here she is on Piers Morgan. And this is a creepy little exchange right here.
Why would you be in such a celebratory mood about the execution of another human being? Aren't you supposed to be on the caring, sharing left where, you believe in the sanctity of life?
I do believe in the sanctity of life. And I think that's why I felt, along with so many other Americans, joy, unfortunately, because it feels like...
Seriously?
I mean...
Joy in a man's execution?
Maybe not joy, but certainly not empathy. Because again,
we're watching the footage. How can this make you joyful? This guy's a husband, he's a father, and he's being gunned down in the middle of Manhattan. Why does that make you joyful?
Thousands of Americans that being murdered. So are the tens of thousands of Americans, innocent Americans, who died because greedy health insurance executives like this one push policies of denying care to the most vulnerable people.
Now, if this sounds familiar, it sounds exactly like what happened after the Bernie Sanders volunteer showed up at the Republican baseball practice in D.C. and shot up the place. Just started squeezing off rounds, almost killed Steve Scalise. One of the responses you saw probably on your own social media from some people that you're probably related to was like, well, what can you expect? You have a party, and they were trying to repeal Obamacare at the time. They're trying to take health care away from 32 million people. And, what do you expect a guy to do? Maybe he's a little insane, but, maybe you should think about that. Well, no, Taylor, that doesn't make it okay. And denying a claim on someone's insurance, if that's akin to murder, then go arrest the guy and charge him with a crime. If not, it sounds like you're just trying to excuse terrorism, because this is, and I don't want to overuse the word, and I'm not saying that to be sensational, but the literal definition of terrorism is violence or intimidation for a political cause, to further a political movement. Doesn't this fit that? Ooh. Oh, we have another terrorism, but it's terrorism that Taylor Lorenz likes. So would it be fair to go ahead and let's put some more description on it? Left-wing terrorism. Oh my goodness. There it is. Anti-capitalist / socialist terrorism. Strikes again. Is it labeled such? What's the word for it? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. That's pretty disturbing stuff. Wouldn't you agree? All right, Steve Miller Band is coming to WinStar Casino February 28th. You can get tickets now at winstar.com. Or it's one of our contests we have going on right now. You text the word free to 800-288-9227. Not Steve, not Miller, not Band. For some reason, you text the word free to 800-288-9227 if you want a chance to win a pair of tickets. The rest of us, get your tickets at winstar.com. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk to an immigration attorney, get you all caught up on what's going on the border. And for the rest of you who have already sent me messages, I might as well just repeat it. Yes, tonight we're having the Tuesday Brews Day unofficial James Show meetup, Richardson Bar and Grill. Anytime after 7, I'll probably be there from like 7 to, 11 or midnight. So just come on out. Your phone knows where it's at. So just ask your phone. It'll probably give you directions and everything. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Yay, let's go. Come on out and hang out with us tonight. I know a lot of you have been asking for some sort of social hangout thing. Well, we're doing it tonight at Richardson Bar and Grill. It's 1411 Campbell. I don't even know why I say addresses anymore. Your phone knows. Just say phone. Take me to Richardson Bar and Grill, and it'll give you directions. So check it out. I'll probably be there from 7 to, 11, midnight, whenever it starts to lighten up. So come on out, say hi, judge me based on my appearance. I know that's what you really want to do. But also, the big hero here is Steve. Steve spent hours this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and sometime on Sunday, separating out all the chicken wings. So if you order hot wings tonight at the Richardson Bar and Grill, you get all right wings. So that's sort of the special that we're doing. And Steve made that happen. When I said that, it sounded like a good little promotion. I didn't know they came in the same package. So Steve's been having to go through that. All right, my next guest can help you with another burning question. I know you have. This is Kenny Frazier, the crazy gun dealer. You hear his excellent ads on WBAP. But Kenny, I want to talk to you about the best guns to take down drones. But I bet we have to do a little legal disclaimer here. We realize that it's against federal law to shoot at any aircraft, even if it's a drone. You can't shoot at it, whether it's manned, unmanned, doesn't matter. So all of this is pure hypotheticals, and we're not encouraging anyone to shoot at drones. However, Kenny Frazier, if they repeal all these dumb laws, what do you think would be the best gun to take down a drone?
Well, I'm not sure. It depends on what kind of drone you're shooting at. But as you said, it's very important to repeat. This is all in joking and hypothetical. It is absolutely, drones are protected by the federal government, the FAA, just like planes and helicopters. Even from the smallest to the biggest drone, they're all protected. And that has to do with the fact that, drones are relatively new in the big scheme of things, and they're becoming more and more and more, but the government just hasn't caught up with them. So they have the same protection as helicopters and airplanes. And just so everybody knows, if you get caught shooting at a drone, even if you don't hit it, there's a $250,000 fine and 20 years in federal prison.
Whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's not really something you want to do. Now, having said that, if you want to have fun with your own drone, you could certainly get some of these cheap little $30, off of Amazon type drones and stuff, take them out to my gun range, get a shotgun, and launch them like a skeet, and you can shoot at it all you want to. I'm assuming if it's your own drone, but, do it at your own risk. But we'd love to have somebody do that. That'd be outstanding.
So I'm concerned about the distance here, because I think if it's a closer drone, I've done skeet shooting, where you throw the clay skeets and you use shotguns for that. But, that's probably closer than I expect most of my drone shots, hypothetical drone shots, to be. At what distance do shotguns become ineffective?
Well, honestly, they can be effective out to, depending, and it comes down to different things. It depends on the shot that you're shooting. It depends on the choke that you're using, which causes the different spread in the patterns, which gives you different lengths to be able to shoot out to. But you can max effectivity, you could shoot out to about 50 yards. Realistically, 25 yards is a fair shot. If you were shooting maybe at a drone or a skeet or something like that. But it's just I don't know that you could hit one unless you were Annie Oakley with anything other than a shotgun. It would be a hope and a prayer to hit a drone or any flying bird or something like that with just a bullet versus shot.
Right. So you think regular birdshot could take down a standard toy drone?
If it was just a toy drone, yeah, I'm sure you could shoot it with 7.5, 8, just your typical skeet shots, your typical bird shot. I don't think it's going to take much to take one down.
So if you were to use a hunting rifle or to try and just honest to God sniper these things out, what would you recommend for that?
Well, I really don't think that you could. It would pretty much have to be in a constant hover so that you could hit it. And then you're still shooting a rifle up at an angle in the air. So you really need to know where you're at and where you're shooting. It's just not going to be safe to do that anywhere, anytime, even if we're talking hypotheticals. I wouldn't recommend any rifle shooting up in the air.
Yeah, and I was looking at the letter of the law. You can't even shoot like a ninja net up there to take down a drone. So if it was like close enough to your backyard, because I've had the story from years ago. I forgot where it was, but some neighbor was using a drone to watch his neighbors change clothes. And so the guy came out and saw some guy peeking at his wife. And I think he hit it with a baseball bat, and he still got in trouble for that.
Yeah. Well, that's just a perfect example of our government, though. But we don't want to go there right now. Honestly, as the law stands right now today, you cannot interfere with a flying drone just like you couldn't interfere, like you can't shine a beam at a helicopter or an airplane, anything like that. You cannot interfere with it while it's flying. And again, that's because drones are a relatively new issue, and government hasn't caught up to it. So the FAA has just basically classified them at this time as airplanes. Well, and so they fall under the same rules and regulations.
And they make some good points when they talk about you don't know if that's a drone that's taking equipment out to a first responder or to a firefighter or taking medicine to a hospital, or it could be Walmart or Amazon, a delivery drone. Also, if you shoot them when they fall out of the sky, they could hit somebody and hurt somebody for real. They turn into just a missile. And then this hasn't happened yet, but I bet you we hear the story eventually, Kenny, is that someone's going to shoot down a drone, it'll land in a forest and start a forest fire.
Yeah, all of those are worst case scenarios. But again, we're being hypothetical. We are definitely joking about it. Nobody should be shooting at drones regardless. If you shoot your own drone and you go out to the gun range, you want to be wild and crazy, I think you might be okay doing that. But short of that, it would be unsafe to shoot at any drone for any reason. If you have a problem with a drone around your windows, things like that, technically that's an FAA violation, but you can call your local police and then they can handle it from there.
Kenny Frazier, what gun is the hot item for Christmas this year?
Oh my gosh. Everything, really. I mean, it's still AR-15s and carry guns. Everybody, more and more people are carrying, more and more women are carrying. I think that's a great thing. Everybody should carry. And I would say in handguns, it's almost any carry gun. I mean, that's what's really, really hot.
Well, and I also like to remind people that bullets make an excellent stocking stuffer. People complain, like, it's so hard to buy for Dad. He already has everything he wants. Well, we could always use more bullets.
Never have enough guns, never have enough bullets.
All right, this is the Crazy Gun Dealer in Alvarado, Texas. How do they find you outside of WBAP, Kenny?
Oh, just come on out to Alvarado and check me out, or check us out at crazygundealer.com, because nobody wants your business more than we do.
There he is. Been dying to do that segment for like a week now. We just had to work it into the schedule. Because first thing I thought when I saw all these drone stories is like, y'all don't have one idiot? Y'all don't have one idiot in your town that's shooting at these things? Because I know it's illegal, and I wouldn't encourage any of y'all to do it. And I know people in the WBAP audience, they're way too smart and law-abiding to do something that crazy. But there's some idiot out there that's got to be shooting these things down. Look, New Jersey. Y'all don't have idiots up there? Yeah, I doubt it. All right, coming up next, we have a former intelligence officer saying that he fully expects Trump to be attacked again before the inauguration. He spelled his case out on Fox News this morning. You'll hear it next on The James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to The James Show. I'm your host, James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Richard Staropoli was on Fox News, and just, I don't know who this guy is. He has a background in security and whatnot, and I just can't argue with people like this. I don't want to believe it, but I feel really naive to dismiss this. And the question is, do you expect Trump to be attacked again? You know, he was shot in the ear July 13th. There was another guy poking a gun barrel through a fence at his golf course right after that. Is it going to happen again? And more specifically, is it going to happen before the inauguration? Richard Staropoli seems to think so. I'm going to run this by you and ask you what you think. 800-288-9227. Do you think Trump's going to be attacked before the inauguration?
Well, this is President-elect Trump, soon to be President Trump, back in office again. They are going to have a huge task before them. He travels a lot, right? Yep. I mean, he's out there a lot. Yep. Where are you with your confidence that they will be able to safely secure the president?
Oh, I'm not highly confident at all. The Secret Service that you see out there today is not the Secret Service of yesteryear. Wow. Somewhere along the line, they've completely dropped the ball. That testimony that you saw today was purely a smokescreen to cover up the shortcomings of a politically compromised agency. It should never have gotten to that point. This whole talk about all these drones and these UAVs, hey, that's all great. But you need to get back to the basics. What made the Secret Service great was its ability to put human intelligence, manpower on the streets, and effectively secured environment to make it safe for the president of the United States. I don't see that here. As a matter of fact, I don't think I'd be alone in saying that I certainly can see something happening between now and Inauguration Day. And it's not going to be some 20-year-old kid on the roof of a building that's allowed to get within 100 yards. It's going to be something of a much bigger magnitude. And I don't think the Secret Service is anywhere near equipped to handle that situation.
Okay, your thoughts. Will Trump be attacked before the inauguration? 800-288-9227. One of the concerns that you have is after the first attack, they did not pull back on the sensational rhetoric. He was still called Hitler. You were still called a fascist for supporting Hitler. Racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, going to tank the economy. He's going to take rights away from women, and trans people are going to get genocided, and he's going to start mass deporting everyone who's, I don't know, darker than Elvira. Just the sensational, no matter how untrue or ridiculous it is, it's still being repeated. After the second time, still being repeated. After he won, and they don't even have to scare people into votes. There's a lot of people are still sticking with that Hitler line. Now, it's not enough to obviously win the election here, but is it enough to freak some people out and take some people who are teetering on the edge of mental illness and push them over that boundary into becoming violent? There's a good case to be made that might be part of the problem with the lady who shot up her school yesterday. When you have people who feel despair, when you have people who are psychopathic to begin with, feeding them a steady diet of the narrative that this world is unfair and it's unjust. And not only is it unfair and unjust, most of the country doesn't even care. In fact, we enjoy it. We celebrate it. We vote for it. We like it. Well, when you think the rest of the world is that evil and you're a psychopath, that makes lashing out pretty easy. In fact, that makes lashing out almost a moral thing to do with this evil, fallen, wicked world that oppresses women, that oppresses people based on their sexual orientation, that oppresses poor people, that just denies healthcare coverage for all these people so they can die in the street. When you can celebrate the murder of a United Healthcare CEO because you've been trained, you've been conditioned to think that he's evil, that can't be helping. And so when it only takes, a handful of people in society like that to put your president at risk. John Hinckley acted alone. John Hinckley, when he shot Ronald Reagan, an absolute crazy person. In fact, it came up with Jeremy Rosenthal earlier in the show. If you missed it, he actually got the insanity defense, and probably rightfully so, because he wasn't shooting at the president because the president's a fascist or literally Hitler, or he's saving the world, or he's saving women's abortion rights or whatever. He was doing it to get the attention of Jodie Foster. And not only is that a bad way to get the attention of someone that you would, like to be involved with romantically, it also doesn't really help that she's gay. It's probably a bigger impediment, John. I don't think you had much of a chance whether you shot Reagan or not. But we do have crazy people out there. And that's the danger you have for anybody famous. That's why Taylor Swift has to have security. Is it just takes one crazy person out there that got to kill. Some people are just crazy, and that's totally understandable. But the rhetoric is just unacceptable. The way they still carry on and call him Hitler. If you think Trump isn't going to be attacked again, I think you're being naive. The only question is, I think, will he be attacked before the inauguration? Is someone going to try something? Because they only got about a month to go. And you could just roll down the window and hear people screeching about Hitler. You can just hear people, oh my God, they're going to genocide us. Women are going to lose control of their bodies. And it's going to be the Handmaid's Tale. And we're going to have to run around saying, blessed be the fruit and all kinds of weird stuff. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Now, I don't think they'll succeed. I think the Secret Service is a basket case. We saw that on display on July 13th. Some people have problems holstering their gun and pulling it out and waving it around at a crowd, even though the threat's been neutralized. But I don't think the American people are going to let it happen. Much in the way that when we had the Westboro Baptist Church or other unsavory people protesting at our fallen soldiers' funeral when they were coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, what did we do? The American people stood up and we just made a line. We just made a wall, a human shield between the undesirables and the people that we were wishing to protect. And there's big strength to be had in numbers. If the Secret Service doesn't want to give him the proper protection, I don't think that anyone's going to sit there and watch someone climb up on a roof and point a gun at him ever again. This is sort of the 9/11 effect. You realize that for your entire life, planes were being hijacked until 9/11. That was the last time. Why? Because we all know now that if that happens, just go take down the guys. Yeah, you're going to get knifed or whatever, but everyone's going to die anyway. So you might as well prevent it from landing in a building like the Pentagon or the World Trade Center. And so that horrible phenomenon ended when all of the people in society decided we're not going to put up with that anymore. Same reason no one says the N-word, whether it's on TV or in print or in a book or in a newspaper article or on a website. And it's not, no one made it illegal. No one goes to jail for it. We all just decided that's just something we're not going to do anymore. And I think Trump's safety is kind of along those lines. But I do want to have it said that someone's going to try. All it takes is one crazy person, and we have a few million of them. Luckily, they've identified themselves by either coloring their hair or shaving it all off. But mark my words, if it happens again, I want you to call in and be like, Parker, you were right. They tried again. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, there's a report that shows a lot of colleges are teaching and encouraging students to become social media influencers. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because I got some real problems with it. You'll hear it coming up next on The James Show. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.